Bieniemy did not call plays in Kansas City, but for the Commanders, he will call plays. Everybody on television has been talking about it, but LeSean McCoy actually played under and for Eric Bieniemy and won a Super Bowl there. I'm going to hold Shady's thoughts because I want to hold your attention for a little bit longer.
Nice tease.
Dumb as heck for Eric Bieniemy to go to Washington. I think it was the most irresponsible move he could make for his career. Not monetarily. I'm sure he's making more money. But not all money is good money. I will say that again. Not all money is good money. Why would you go from Patrick Mahomes, who is a consensus top 5 quarterback in the history of the National Football League, to a quarterback in Sam Howell, who has 1 start under his belt in his career? Sam Howell was great as a sophomore at North Carolina. I watched them intensely because my former head coach, Hall of Fame college football head coach, is the head coach at the University of North Carolina, coached Sam Howell in college. Had a great sophomore year. But his junior year, completion percentage went down, touchdowns went down, interceptions went up. Now, he did lose his beast of running backs to the National Football League, but Sam Howell has 1 career start in the NFL, and you going from Patrick Mahomes, who got more Super Bowl MVPs than Sam Howell has NFL starts.
Talk to him.
Like, let's put this in context, y'all. Yeah. Pat Mahomes has more MVPs in the Super Bowl than Sam Howell has career starts, and you gonna tell me that's an upgrade? No. Do not try to sell me some sort of fool's gold. I watch too much football to know that. Congrats on Eric Bieniemy for getting more paper. But, Shady, what you know about paper, what I've learned about paper, not all money is good money. Now, you know Eric Bieniemy better than most.
Yes, I do.
You know him really well. Eric Bieniemy is a former running back. LeSean McCoy, one of the greatest running backs. Eric Bieniemy, offensive coordinator. LeSean McCoy was one of the players that won a Super Bowl under Eric Bieniemy. How big of a risk is Eric Bieniemy leaving the Chiefs and going to the Commanders?
I think it's a great move, right? Getting more money.
Yep.
Now you're on your own, but it's a huge risk. You don't have Andy Reid there, right? You talked about Patrick Mahomes. I'll get to that later. But let me tell you who Andy Reid really is. If we really went down his coaching tree, and I'm going to say this for the next block, all them coaches have done well or had head coaching jobs or office coordinator jobs. So now you leave him, right? Now you're on your own. There's no Coach Reid there to help you out. See, because Reid called all the plays. So how it worked in Kansas City was this. Andy Reid sends the play to Eric Bieniemy. Bieniemy sends it to Patrick Mahomes. That's an easy job to do.
Okay.
In practice, all the plays are scripted, and he was called the plays that are scripted. It's easy to do. Now, when people want to see the results, well, Bieniemy, when you were there, right, the offense ranked 1st in offense, ranked 2nd in pass, ranked 10th in rushing offense. Like, whoa, they want to see that. But when you got to go there and it's just you, and they want to see what you learn with Andy Reid, that's a big risk. I'm not sure if he has what it takes to get it done there.
Break this down for the viewer, because you said that to me. I know exactly what you mean, but I played football in college and pro. When you said Andy Reid calls the plays, then Bieniemy relays the play that Andy Reid calls to Patrick Mahomes, what is a normal play caller then? Is Eric Bieniemy usually, should he be the one who's calling the plays in general as opposed to just a game of telephone? Or break that down for the viewer.
I played college football. I played NFL football at a high level in both. I've never seen a offensive coordinator. The head coach sends the play to the offensive coordinator, and the offensive coordinator sends it to the quarterback. I've never seen that before. Normally, in most offense of schemes, the offensive coordinator who calls the plays sends it to the quarterback to call the play for him. So initially, Andy Reid is the offensive coordinator. The one thing about Andy Reid is he wants his guys to get jobs. He's a team guy. So he spoke highly about Eric Bieniemy. And I do think Eric Bieniemy has, like, the discipline. When I was there, that was his biggest thing. You know, he was the disciplinarian, you know, do this right. But he didn't really deal with the offense. That's another thing. He didn't really deal with the offensive pass game. He was more with the running backs. He was more with the running game. So I'm thinking, well, who's going to call the passes? Because when I was there, he didn't call the passes. When we would have, like, watch the practices or watch the games, and we had to break it down, it was Andy Reid breaking it down, which most teams is the offensive coordinator. So it's a huge risk. Now you have to actually play or be the offensive coordinator, which you haven't done in years.
We will get back to more of that because I'm very intrigued by those details. Let me come to you, Dave, very quickly. How big a risk is Eric Bieniemy leaving the Chiefs, going to the Commanders?
I don't think it's even slightly a risk. I don't think it's any kind of risk. And I think the best way to sort this out is to put yourself in Eric Bieniemy's shoes. Like, what would you do? Eric Bieniemy has been one of the most successful, noteworthy coordinators in the NFL for 5 years now. Like, really, only football junkies and people that are paid to know about the league know the game on the coordinator level, like who's the DC in Philadelphia, Jonathan Gannon, that type of thing. Everybody knows who Eric Bieniemy is because he's been doing this at a high level since 2018. And I know he doesn't call the plays, but he has a hand in an offense that's finished first, third, first, sixth, first, going back to 2018. Every year he's part of the hiring cycle, and every year he's the most noteworthy name that gets left out. His own head coach, Andy Reid, is sitting here saying, why doesn't this guy have a job yet? He's interviewed in countless places. And still, I don't even care if you agree that he's good or not, but the thing, we just keep finding reasons why he doesn't get a job. And right now the reason is, well, he's never called plays. He's never been, top dog of an offense. So what do? What would you do if you were trying to break through that ceiling? You got the Super Bowls. Your legacy is secure to some degree. Like, Eric Bieniemy can work in the NFL as long as he wants to. If this doesn't work out, he can rebound somewhere else. He's got connections in the league. But he wants a chance to be a head coach. And if this is your only chance to do it after 5 years of getting denied for this reason, that reason, what would you do?
But that's where I think he's wrong. And I think that...
You want to just keep doing this in KC? You want to just...
Here's what's wrong.
2 Super Bowls isn't enough? I guess I can win a third?
Matt Nagy, Shady, was the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs.
You take it, Mike. Go ahead.
Doug Peterson was the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs. Matt Nagy became the head coach for the Chicago Bears. Doug Peterson became the head coach for who, Shady? The Philadelphia Eagles. And they didn't call plays. So it is not Eric Bieniemy's lack of play calling that's keeping him from becoming a head coach. How do I know that? Because Matt Nagy and Doug Peterson both got hired from under Andy Reid without calling plays. So to assume that I have to, as Eric Bieniemy, go become a play caller to become a head coach, that is finding a solution to a wrong problem. The problem is not that you don't call plays, Eric Bieniemy, because Matt Nagy and Doug Peterson didn't call plays. I don't know what the problem is. Yeah. I'm not into the interview room, Slick Rick. I don't know what the problem is. I'm not going to cry that it's racial. I don't know what the problem is. I don't think it has anything to do with running with the police in 1991, I think it was, whatever it was with Eric Bieniemy. Right. I don't know what the problem is, but I do not think the problem is that he doesn't call plays. I just think that's an excuse.
I'm with you in that we don't know what the problem is, but I can also tell you that he wasn't going to find the solution. To Dave's point, he wasn't going to find the solution in Kansas City. He needed to go someplace else. And if you're going to go someplace else, then I'm going to go where the bar is set relatively low. Who was the last team in the NFC East? What is the team that offensively hasn't been in the top half of the league for, 5, 6, 7 years?
Yep.
Sam Howell, if things go south, are we going to say, well, Eric Bieniemy obviously isn't a coordinator. He can't. No. There are plenty of built-in reasons why, if it doesn't work out, Bieniemy's not going to be the first guy that you're going to blame. But the flip side, if Bieniemy makes them into a top 15 offense, and I'm not talking what he did with Kansas City.
No, even if they're decent. Even if they're decent, he's going to get a ton of credit.
Good, everybody's going to go, oh, see, they've been sleeping on Eric Bieniemy all this time. That's why, for me, it's not the money, it's not the title, it's the respect. And he really doesn't have to do that much in order to gain a hell of a lot more respect than he has right now.
But here's my thought, because Shady's played under Eric Bieniemy, and Shady alluded to this earlier. Don't be confused. If Eric Bieniemy goes to Washington and they struggle, and Sam Howell has 4 touchdowns and 8 interceptions to start the season, we will start to look at Eric Bieniemy and say, see, he ain't never called plays in the first place. We have to. Why? Because Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson, Scary Terry, Brian Robinson at running back, and there's another running back I'm missing. There's one more I'm missing. Antonio Gibson?
Yes, Gibson.
Antonio Gibson. Yes. I'm like, we will look and say, yo, they got a crazy skill position group. Eric Bieniemy, why are y'all struggling? Dave, chime in.
It's kind of what we were saying with the dunk contest, though. In my opinion, Kansas City is safe, and that's cool. I mean, he could keep doing this for a long time. Mahomes isn't going anywhere. Andy's not going anywhere. But where do you get with that? That's my thing. Again, if it was me, after 3, 4, 5 years of this, I think you probably just get sick of it. And to Rick's point, you want to be able to earn some respect because you're not getting it. There's nothing.
And you're not going to get it.
You're not going to get it. There's nothing the Chiefs could do. Like, what could happen other than Andy Reid making a very public display of giving him play calling duties and having them then win a Super Bowl? What's he going to do there? And I can very easily imagine it gets frustrating and you say, okay, fine, I'm going to do this. And like I said, he's got 2 championships on his resume. He's got a long history of coaching. Like, if this fails spectacularly, I'll step out on a very big limb and say Eric Bieniemy will be able to get work as a coach in the NFL somewhere else if this doesn't work. But imagine if it does. If it does, all of a sudden the narrative on this guy changes completely. So, yeah, it is risky to some degree, but I think it's a risk that's absolutely worth taking.
Here is the sneaky information nobody's talking about. The coach that might be on the hottest seat next year, Ron Rivera. If Eric Bieniemy is the assistant to the head coach,
Chestnut
Ron
checkers.
Rivera gets fired in the middle of the season. Well, you want to know who's going to instantly become a head coach before the 2023 season is over? That's what nobody's talking about.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.